Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to School Science. My name is Luke and this is the post-match for Huddersfield versus Everton in the Carabao Cup. Huddersfield 1, Everton 2. Now, when this game was kicking off and I saw the team lineup, I was a little bit, I was a touch concerned. Because, when you're doing cup competitions like these and you're not taking it to the seriousness of you're going to throw the full squad out and risk any of them getting injured. So in that situation, what you normally do is you throw maybe, take 3 or 4 your key players off and you swap them around with someone a little bit different, where someone who's on the bench or in the second team, something like that. Not nine. I don't have an idea at all what Benitez was doing, but the fact that we pulled it off, I've got high faith in him in that regard, but not 9. 9 players. The only 2 players who were remaining were Iwobi and Michael Keane. Everyone else, this was their first start of the season. Actually, no, that's a lie. That is a complete and utter lie. Because Mason Holgate, it was his second start. So my apologies about that. That is a very barefaced lie, and I'm sorry. So the vast majority of those players from the 9, that was their first start of the season. Yeah. 9 changes. That's a lot. That is a lot of changes. But in all honesty, they all handled themselves well. Niels Nkuku, he's still got the pace that I absolutely love him for, and he's got the dynamic skill. There was a moment where there was another player who was very close to the ball. He was closer to the ball than Niels Nkuku was, and he outpaced that player to get to the ball and was away with it before he even knew what happened. But there is a few things that did come up that I wasn't 100% happy on. The fact that this was the first time these guys have played together in quite a while made it a little bit worrisome, just because when the passing was coming to and fro, it didn't look as clean as what you would see with the first team. Now, granted, I can already hear you guys saying it, but it wasn't the first team. These are the reserves and some of them are youngsters. Yes, I get it. But you watch the pass and it seemed rather rough around the edges. And I'm willing to say some of it had to do with the turf, because the turf actually slowed the ball down quite a bit. So when you watched any passes or anything going through, it wasn't like a nice slick glide that you get, like what you have in Goodison, when the ball gets passed, it glides across the turf. This almost seemed to go like this. It wasn't, a nice even bam. It was coming to a slow halt as time went on. So it was a little bit off, that one. But in all fairness, when it came to us on the attack, in the very beginning of the game, so the first, I'd say 20-30 minutes of the game, we were a very threatening side. We were pushing like crazy and we were exposing many major holes. Moise Keane, his first shot off, he was unlucky not to net that one in the first attempt. His second one that actually went in, I don't know what that linesman was watching, but it was honestly, it was not offside. It was onside. Yes, it might have been a tight situation to call it, but he was dead align with the other player. If you look at the footage again and you look at the lines on the pitch, he was lined up perfectly. So unless these lines are not straight and they're like this or this, then I'm sorry, but that should have stood. But after that instance, I felt like Moise Keane's head just dropped. His entire attitude just became, I don't even want to be here anymore. That was what I saw anyway. And you guys might have saw different. You guys might have seen someone who's frustrated and he was trying to improve. But in all honesty, when I was watching that game, after that goal was disallowed, from there, he just looked like he couldn't give a toss anymore. He looked like he was sulking. He was going on the PSG mindset when they concede against a decent side. And if anyone's unsure what I'm on about, if anyone ever watches a Paris Saint-Germain game, if they ever play when they play in the Champions League, if you ever watch them play, if they're going up against a really good side, so the likes of Manchester City, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, anyone like that, once they go behind, watch the attitudes of the players, their heads slump quite severely. So Moise Keane's attitude is very much reflective of that, and it's not an attitude we should be having in the squad. When something doesn't go your way, what you're meant to do is dig in your heels, grit your teeth, and get on with it. Really get on with it. If it doesn't work the first time, go at it the second time with 110%. If it doesn't work that time, try a different angle. Go at it at 100%. Honestly, if you're going into this game and you're not putting 100% in, maybe it's because you don't see them as big of a threat. Maybe it's because they're in a league lower than you. Maybe it's because they're in a country. Let's say, for argument's sake, we're playing in the Europa League and we're going up against someone who's in the back alleys of Austria, and you don't want to take them seriously. That is a horrible mindset to have. You do not have that mindset when it comes to playing football. You treat every single game as if they are a massive threat and you need to squash it as quickly as possible. So yeah, that's the half an hour rant of Moise Keane over. Now let's look at some of the other players. So as the game went on, the likes of Alex Iwobi and, I'll be honest, Alex Iwobi was probably the only major standout in that game. As terrible as it sounds, he was probably the only one who really did put a good shift in there. Everyone else, they did run their absolute hearts out. They did do their best, but I just felt like the roughness around the edges and not being familiar with the guys around them, it just didn't really. It was almost like a clock with grinding gears. It was just, they were operating. Yes, they were operating, but they just weren't connecting, and things just weren't going as fluidly. Tom Davies had a good run. I will appreciate that very much. He was playing very well. He was playing as a number 6. He was being a true number 6. Other players were playing well. Begovic had a few good saves. He had a brilliant save in the second half where he was able to get a few fingers to it, and he tipped it over the bar. So well done to him for doing that. The likes of John Joe Kenny, he did have a good little run here and there. He was good in a defensive aspect, but trying to progress up the pitch, I think he needs a little bit more work. He needs to work on his pace a little bit more. But as a whole for the squad, they were rough around the edge, I will say that. Now, when it comes to the second half, that was a whole different kettle of fish. We were very fortunate that one of their players was standing on Asmir Begovic, because if that wasn't the case, and they would have scored, we would have been fighting to get them back. And I've got a feeling if they would have scored and I would have stood, we would have been out at this point, unfortunately. Yes, we did have moments where we were the better team, but in all honesty, they had more first team players, and those team players had more experience playing with each other. So they were able to put us on the ropes a little bit longer. They were able to maintain possession. Granted, we were able to hold them back for a lot longer, but there are definitely still aspects that need to be worked on. Now, I can't really say this about the first team just because there was barely anyone in there that was the first team. The only person that was in the first team from the substitutes was Damari Gray, I think. Yeah, if I'm wrong on that one, please put it in the comment section below. But Damari Gray was the only substitute who came on who was of first team quality. No, that was a lie. Luca Dean as well. Luca Dean, he came in. So Luca Dean came in for Tom Davies and Andros Townsend. Damari Gray came on for Niels Nkuku, which was weird. I would have thought it would have been position for position substitution. So Nkuku off for Luca Dean, so that would have taken up the left wing back role, and Damari Gray for Tom Davies, so we would have went from a defensive midfielder to someone of a more attacking prowess. And in all honesty, the second Damari Gray came on, that was actually almost like a breath of fresh air. He had the burst of pace, he had the skill, he had the movement. He was actually picking the game up a lot more. And you know what? I feel like I'm neglecting Andros Townsend here. I'm terribly sorry. Andros Townsend, his goal was absolutely superb near the end. That was a brilliant goal, and I couldn't applaud him enough for it. He managed to do similar to what Damari Gray did. He was able to get it in, and he ends up rocketing it into the underside of the net. So absolutely well done to him for that. But as a whole for the game, I would not like to see him do that again. I would not like to see 9 players who are not familiar with each other go into a game like that. in any case, I would say at the very, very extreme end, 5 players maybe. But 4 would be 4 and 3. I would say, okay, yeah, that's great. So maybe swap out Calvert-Lewin for, say, Lewis Dobbin or Moise Kean. Swap Richarlison out for maybe, I don't know, Iwobi. No, not Iwobi. He's a first teamer. Swap Richarlison out for someone else. And maybe swap either, I don't know, Jordan Pickford or Alan or Decore, one of those 3 for someone else. Or maybe swap Pickford and Alan for, say, Tom Davies and Begovic, or swap Pickford and Decore for Gabaman. That's actually something I should have mentioned as well. Gabaman had a decent game. In the beginning, he was doing well. He was solid. He was really getting his movement going. But as time went on, fatigue started to kick in. And you could see it. He hasn't been match fit for nearly 2 to 3 years now. And I feel absolutely terrible for him, because he's come back from 2 really horrible injuries. And I feel so bad for the guy. I can't wait for him to get into like a proper match fitness and show us what he's worth, because I have high hopes for him, because he's a defensive midfielder sort of player, but he will go up the field and go into the opposition's box. I would say, if I was to compare him to anyone, he's very much a latter stage Arteta sort of player. So he's the guy who you have in the centre of the park, where things will get linked together, because he's able to pass the ball great, he's able to put through passes great, and he's able to travel with the ball. So in that regard, I am looking forward to seeing how he gets on as time goes on. But in any case, as a whole, not a bad game. Could have been much better. We could have, approached it a little bit more in a cautious sense and had, maybe 3, 4, or maybe 5 on the extreme end out and have them. But the 9, they did the job. We're into the 3rd round. And by the time this video gets uploaded, we are going to get drawn with the next opposition. Please don't be Liverpool. Please don't be Man City. Please don't be Man United. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit that like button down below. It shows me that you like what you're seeing and you want to see more of it. Also, if you want to suggest anything to me, or you want to correct anything that I've said in this video that might be slightly inaccurate, then please put it in the comment section below. I'm not being satirical, I'm being 100% genuine. Honestly, put it down there so that we can get everything as accurate as possible and as clear as possible for the next video. Also, if you are new to the channel, for seriousness, if you are new to the channel and you do like what you see, please hit that subscribe button down below. It just means that you will get notified whenever I put anything new out. Also, if you hit the bell icon just down there right next to it, that will also get you even more notifications, so you will get notified the second I put something out there. Also, if you want to just go that little bit extra, we have got a Patreon. This is what this is to my right. So my Patreon here has got 2 tiers in it. So the first tier is a £1 tier. So this is essentially what I call the cup of coffee tier. So this is essentially you just flicking me £1 saying, Luke, I like what you're doing, mate. Keep doing it. Here's a cup of coffee on me. And there's also the £3 tier. Now that's known as the School of Science Superfan tier. See, I'm not doing it as fast anymore. If I try and do it fast, I end up tongue twisting myself. But yeah, the School of Science Superfan tier is the £3 tier, which is like the next step up to the cup of coffee tier. So this is like, okay, I want to see you doing this more often. I want to see, like the occasional live stream video. I want to see you doing more exclusive stuff. I want to see you getting right in there with Everton. I want to see you doing all this sort of stuff. That's what the £3 tier is. Once we build from there, so we get more subscribers, once we get more Patreons and all that sort of stuff, we'll be able to build into this sort of stuff. So I'll be able to go out there more, go to, say, the likes of Finch Farm, just get myself out there. So let's say it's the closing time for the transfer window. I will go to Finch Farm and I will stand there and I will talk about Everton. I'll talk about any potential signings that they're talking about right now. I will also talk about other little bits and bobs in that. So there'll be stuff like that coming in the future. But at the moment, we're sticking to the happy little office, doing the nice small stuff off a phone. But yeah, as we grow, there's going to be more elaborate stuff, there's going to be more dynamic stuff, and there's going to be more stuff with old droney here. But in any case, I'd like to thank you all very much for watching, and I'm going to see you all in the next video. Peace.